Up ahead in the distance, I saw a shimmering light. My head grew heavy and my sight grew dim. I had to stop for the night. There she stood in the doorway. I heard the mission bell, and I was thinking to myself, this could be heaven or this could be hell. Then she lit up a candle and she showed me the way. There were voices down the corridor. I thought I heard them say, welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely place, such a lovely face. Plenty of room at the Hotel California. Any time of year, you can find it here. Her mind is Tiffany twisted. She got the Mercedes Benz. She got a lot of pretty, pretty boys that she calls friends. How they dance in the courtyard, sweet summer sweat. Some dance to remember, some dance to forget. So I called up the kid, and still those voices I call them from far away wake you up in the middle of the night, just to hear them say, welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely place, such a lovely face. They're living it up at the Hotel California. What a nice surprise, what a nice surprise. Bring your alibi. Mirrors on the ceiling, the pink champagne on ice. She said, we are all just prisoners here of our own device. And in the master's chambers, they gather for the. We don't need no education. We don't need no thought control. No dark sarcasm in the classroom. Teacher, leave them kids alone. Hey, teacher, leave them kids alone. All in all, it's just another brick in the wall. All in all, you're just another brick in the wall. We don't need no education. We don't need no thought control. No dark sarcasm in the classroom. Teacher, leave them kids alone. Hey, teacher, leave us kids alone. All in all, you're just another brick in the wall. All in all, you're just another brick in the wall. I'll do it again.
found. Who don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding. How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat? You, yes, you're behind the bike sheds. Stand still, laddie.
If you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding. How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat?
You, yes, you're behind the bike sheds. Stand still, laddie.
sense crying over every mistake. You just keep on trying till you run out of clay, and the science gets done, and you make a neat gun for the people who are still alive. I'm not even angry, I'm being so sincere right now. Even though you broke my heart and killed me, and tore me to pieces, and threw every piece into a fire. As they burned, it hurt because I was so happy for you. Now these points of data make a beautiful line, and we're out of data, we're releasing on time. So I'm glad I got burned. Think of all the things we learned for the people who are still alive. Go ahead and leave me, I think I prefer to stay inside. Maybe you'll find someone else to help.
Welcome, my friends, to Xbox Era. If you're new here, let me fill you in. Xbox Era is a platform for the Xbox community with best-in-class forums, a kick-ass Discord server, and of course, xboxera.com, your destination for the best news, reviews, and features, all focused on your favourite platform, Xbox. It's every Xbox fan's gateway to the best of Xbox Era. Our incredible podcasts listened to in over 50 countries worldwide, our in-depth reviews, our own merch store for the coolest in gaming threads, and of course Day One, where you can track, rate and discuss your favourite games on Xbox Game Pass. We're a small, agile and independent publication, and importantly, we're completely funded by you. If you value having a publication truly focused on your preferred place to play, you can become one of the cool kids by supporting us directly via Patreon. Just head to patreon.com/Xbox Era. You get cool swag and awesome perks, and we get to keep doing what we do. Become a part of the best Xbox community on the internet and help us grow even larger. Thank you for your support. Xbox Era is only made possible by the support of an amazing community, and in particular our legendary and growing army of Patreon supporters. Our executive producers, Top, The Scarecrow 121, Peter B, Not Jack, Mohammed Sherez, Kevin S, Korkenstein, Jordan White, Jordan Andow, Frankie C, Terran H, and Britt. Our amazingly generous grand benefactors who take their support and dedication to Xbox Era to another level. Krat56 and Assassin. And then there's our boss, our leader, our shining light in times of darkness, the one and only Xbox Era CEO, Torn Raptor. You guys are all fucking awesome. If you enjoy the content Xbox Era produce and want more of it, and you're not a patron, consider heading over to patreon.com/Xbox Era, pledge your support, and get cool swag in return. Hello, friends, and welcome once again to another episode of Xbox Era Headlines. I'm Seka Mechanico, and I'm joined as always by Jesse as we dive in to all of the gaming news, all of the little nuggets of news and information that are spread across the internet, all for your succinct 1 hour long show pleasure. As a bonus for our wonderful patrons, we make audio episodes available to them to listen to in the Patreon app. But if they link their account on Spotify, they can listen to it right there. And lastly, of course, if you want to be a patron member, which means you'd be an awesome person or individual, head to patreon.com/Xbox Era. Hello, Jesse, my friend, man of many games, reviewer of many reviews. How are you today?
Tired.
Yeah, you had some strange timing.
This week is,
the last 2 days.
it's been really tight timings on things. You normally like the tonal whiplash of going from you've got 3 weeks for Assassin's Creed Shadows to you've got 2 days for WWE 2K25. And like, I got the code, was it Tuesday morning-ish, Tuesday afternoon, around noon on Tuesday. But then the embargo was this morning at 6 a.m. So it's a really big game. It's a yearly sports game, so it's not too hard to see what's new and see how it feels compared to the last one. That was a bunch, and then they had a preview thing yesterday that also has a very short turnaround, so got to write and do that one later, but that would be after this show, and we then do Split Fiction Hangouts. Should be very fun.
That's right. I'm actually super excited about this one. But yeah, WWE 2K25. The review is out. It's live on xboxera.com in both written and video form, as Jesse breaks down. Frankly, a kind of large amount of content.
It's I think it's far and away the biggest that they've made. It's a massive game, just chock full of everything you could ever think a wrestling game would have. Every wrestler, every match, every arena, every customization option. My only issue with the game is the fact that it is going for that I am watching a wrestling match on TV feeling. So you just have large swaths of time where you're can't do anything.
Doing nothing.
You're just sitting there watching your ass get kicked, and then you've got a split second to press Y to try and reverse the move that's being done on you. And half the time, especially if you're pretty beat up, you have to know when you're hitting Y because it is up for literally 0.2 seconds, and you have to hit it right then. And then you can completely turn it. And it's very realistic to the actual events that you're watching. And I know people always yell like, oh, realism's like, well, yeah, they beat the shit out of each other for your entertainment. They are doing nonstop stunt work while trying to act. It's one of the hardest things to do, I would imagine, live. And remember how to do all of it all and not hurt each other too badly. So
it's an acquired taste. Look, I'll be honest, as a Brit, and I know there's Brits that
it is absolutely enormous.
Wrestling.
It's enormous over there, John.
Yeah, it is. But it's like, it's not for me. I'll put it that way.
VGC.
I did enjoy.
Did you see? I think it was Chris Scullion went through every wrestler in 24 and every wrestler in 25 to compare their new character models, and they do look a lot better this year.
Yeah, you can go check it out on VGC if you want to see that big roster, but only after you've clicked our review because you love us.
But we gave it the exact same score. I gave it an 8, and they gave it an 8. It's solid. Perfect. I gave last year an 8.5, but it's like, so 2K23 was okay, not great. And then 24 was a huge improvement on it. And now 25 is just taking what 24 did and expanding it. This friggin' the island mode that's popping up in a few seconds here is terrible. It is their new microtransaction PvE hub of getting people in with their characters to spend real money to be stronger than everyone, just like the My City mode in NBA 2K. It's not good, looks and runs poorly, but the rest of the game's fine. It's like that mode felt like it was tossed in there because they give you a lot of modes that aren't about microtransactions. Like they've always had the My Faction thing that's up right now. That is their original, please spend money on this ultimate team style mode. But they had to get another mode in to try and get more microtransactions out of you.
Of course they did.
But they've given a ridiculous amount of stuff that is not about that. So it's an actual really nice balance compared to the NBA series, which definitely leans heavier into the we focus on the microtransaction mode stuff. This one, you can never spend a penny outside of that initial cost if you want more wrestlers, or you just wait and people make all of them anyways. So
wrestling,
yeah.
Like the only thing I really like. There's two things I've interacted with really recently. Was the film Fighting with My Family, which is the true-ish story of the Brit girl that became a professional wrestler, right? And I watched a small clip from Jon Stewart's Daily Show where he describes recent political happenings by referencing the heel turn of John Cena. That's it. I was like, okay, this is great. But yeah, that amused me. But outside of that, wrestling, whatever.
It's male. It's like sports soap operas. Like they have soap opera storylines while doing crazy feats of athleticism. And the game does treat it like it's all real. It's not scripted. So when you're going through the modes and stuff, it's trying to be like you are a character in a world where wrestling is not scripted at all. Even though, you know, it still looks like wrestling. They're not really punching each other in the face. They're stomping their feet and rubbing it across, and, you know, things will turn red. Eventually, you are slapping each other repeatedly and throwing each other around like maniacs. But
Denise in the chat says, you underestimate how many people just watch the bot matches with their custom characters. There are big YouTubers who have annual championship events where they just let the bots go at each other and see who wins. That's entertaining. I swear. Look, I'm not poo-pooing on anybody's pride. I'm just saying it's not for me. I'm so glad that people out there can go and have fun.
One difference in this one, the men and the women can fight each other whenever you want. Full-on co-ed wrestling. So, you know, you want to get your inner misandrist or misogynist on, or you just want, you're all about equality, there you go.
Well, there you go. But yeah, go check it out. It's on xboxzero.com now. Reward Jesse's hard work with a click, please. And yeah, outside of that, as Jesse might have mentioned, I think you mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's already a blur for me because it's just so exciting. We'll be playing Split Fiction, which goes live in just under an hour on Steam, on Xbox, and on PlayStation. We'll be doing an Xbox era hangout. So Jesse will be playing it for the first time. I'm going to remain stum about all of the plot twists, etc. And let's dive in. So if you're with the community, you want to hang out with us and enjoy some co-op gameplay, stick around after headlines because we'll be jumping on that pretty much straight away.
I completely forgot. It is daylight savings weekend in the US. And you know that sucks.
Now sleep.
Yeah, but we're completely out of sync for 3 weeks, and then you're still out of sync with Nick for a week after that because they're April 6th.
My clock goes back towards the end of March. So I think a week before.
We're all springing forward. He's falling back.
No, sorry. Yeah, we're springing forward.
Yeah. We lose an hour. He gains an hour. So, but in the end, everything ends up being the same. So
it doesn't really matter. Anyway, coming up in news.
I'm curious. How much does that change? Will that change the podcast timing at all?
He will want it to because he refuses in the one thing that he does to get up.
Well, he's gaining the hour this time, right? So he'll be up later because we're moving forward. We're moving forward, which means he'll have the week. So he'll have 1 week where he gets an extra hour's sleep, and then he goes,
but
loses an hour's sleep. Yeah,
he doesn't want to get up at 6 a.m. on a Sunday.
It'd be one show.
No, entirely. I think he just refuses.
I know,
even though 10 p.m. is so much nicer for everybody involved than 11 p.m., including for guests. Just saying.
But in the end, we'll go forward. He'll go back. It'll all be the same. But for that one weekend, it'll be different.
Yes. In news, I suppose let's talk about some of that. Starting off straight off with the bad news train, PlayStation this week hit with more layoffs following recent game cancellations. This is via Kotaku. PlayStation-owned studio Visual Arts was hit with fresh layoffs this week amid a further restructuring of Sony's US game development operations. While some of the cuts included staff who had contributed to recently cancelled projects like an upcoming live service game at Bend Studio, a source told Kotaku the layoffs were more widespread than that. This is via Ethan Gach. So earlier this week, an unknown number of staff at the Visual Arts Group based out of San Diego were informed that their last day at Sony would be March the 7th. The team provides internal art and technical support to first-party PlayStation studios and worked very closely with Naughty Dog on the recent Last of Us Part 1 and 2 remasters, among other projects. Sony did not immediately respond to a request for a comment. And so it continues.
Well, it sucks extra because it was their best ever quarter. They
made more money than ever, but they've still closed.
Yeah, because it's like, well, we made money here, but we're not making money here, and so it's like it's not that rising tide, carries all ships. It's pretty much all your own ships on your own ocean, and if you are in any way associated with something that's not doing great, then the others won't help you. Which sucks because that was always the thing you hope for. Like, I know the plan for Halo Infinite was Halo Infinite makes a bunch of money and it can pay for everything else. And like that type of thought process is nice, but then it still always ends up coming down to how are you doing siloed section of the company? And if you're not doing amazing in any way, doesn't have to do anything with your work. It can just be that project over at that guy over there for our division didn't do well. So now everyone has to face cuts and it just blows.
Yeah, it's rough. Further details here. These layoffs come after an expensive failure in last year's Concord, new rounds of live service project cancellations, including a reported God of War spin-off at Bluepoint and a reorganization within the top echelons of Sony leadership, with the new CEO now in place, and Herman Holst, who had previously been co-CEO, reporting to him as ongoing head of PlayStation Studios. Yeah, this is just a repeat of that kind of continual trend. US companies, and we're seeing a lot of, and look, a lot of gaming is in the US, right, in terms of businesses, but we're seeing a lot of US stuff.
It's going great. No.
Yeah, this is rubbish. Herman Holst has been quoted as saying that there had been pressure on the cost side as Sony laid off hundreds amid spiraling first-party blockbuster game development budgets.
It's because the main thing that they've talked about, the main thing that Microsoft has talked about is margins. Like Sony's making more money than ever, but like always lately for them, they're not keeping as much as they would want to. They're like been down to 6% margins at some point when the goal is to be like 30 or 40 like Nintendo.
Yeah.
Even Nintendo is struggling with that a little bit, but it's because they're friggin' ramping up to do an enormous launch. That's the norm. You normally don't make a ton of money at launch. You start making it a few years after, historically. And for Sony right now, their number like that, the gross or the just all up, but that net just stays the same amount, and they want more.
It's all naff. I hate it. And I've said this before. I'll say it again. Games look good enough. Let's start controlling that scope creep, that desire to have those melons break apart. Is it worth the however many thousands of dollars it costs to animate the melons?
I'm going to say this. If there's one thing Sony is good at, it's having middle management get in the way and just ruin budgets and everything. Like we saw it repeatedly with the Spider-Verse movies that they were doing, where I know it's a different division and all that type of stuff, but you got a corporate mentality, like we see at Microsoft with their super slow red tape everything.
Or I'm going to say Microsoft at least were some of the worst. Right.
They're not allowed to be anymore because of so many different mitigating factors, but it took a lot for that to change.
Yeah, it's seemingly, anecdotally, seems better now, but for a long while there, Microsoft needed to shut the fuck up and get out of the kitchen and let these people cook. And I would say that is very true of a lot of AAA studios. But look, this is the industry we're in.
Sony's big thing, and I know I see AP IMB is like it's a six-figure salaries of 200 to 300 people. It's like, well, those don't matter as much if management doesn't mess up actually getting games out. Like Sony's firing people not because they're not making money, but because they canceled so much of what they had announced. They still have plenty of stuff coming. They'll still make a lot of stuff as a platform holder. They'll have ridiculous amount of content on PlayStation 5 this year. The issue for their internal stuff is they just canceled way too much. So you never see a return on that. Like when you spend upwards of $400 million buying a studio, supporting its game and all this and doing launch and marketing and all that, and then you literally make $0 off of it. The one way you get that back on your books is you fire a bunch of people who didn't do bad work. It's just you messed up. You had this project that was a massive failure, and we're still seeing the ripple effects from it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just Concord canceling. It was Concord was such a mistake that it caused other things to be canceled just in case they were going to be anything like that. And it's just nonstop.
Yeah. And speaking of the continuation of these kinds of stoppies? How much have I been drinking today? Clearly not enough. Until Dawn remake developer Ballistic Moon has been effectively closed. This is an exclusive story coming via Mike Straw over at Insider Gaming. This is according to multiple sources with knowledge of the situation. Mike Straw writes, Insider Gaming has learned that after the layoffs that were publicly announced back in September of 2024, roughly 40 or so employees were let go. The remaining staff were kept to offer post-launch support and development on Until Dawn, which is the remaster of the original Until Dawn.
It's essentially like a full remake. Yeah, it's the same game, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So this one felt like the audition that they tend to have. Like you work with Sony, if they like you, they end up they might bring you aboard like they did with Blue Point and Housemark and others. But
so these 40 were
yeah.
kept on, and then in December, the company quietly laid off that team as well, resulting in around 20 more developers losing their jobs. And sources say that only the studio's founders remain, and possibly a handful of employees at most. There are no employees in public relations, marketing, or development left. People are sharing bugs they found in the game to make the team aware, but there is no one working on patch support anymore. The studio has effectively closed now.
Yeah.
As far as what happened, those who spoke under the condition of anonymity made it clear that the owners attempted to keep things at Ballistic Moon moving forward. Many said that the owners were actively looking for funding and pitching products, but couldn't secure funding or a new publisher. When asked about Sony publishing another game or future updates to the Until Dawn remake for the studio, one source said it was discussed, but never came to fruition. One quote from an employee here: "Nice reward for our hard work."
Yep.
Oof.
Yeah, it sucks. It wasn't a well received critically.
Nope.
Remake. I don't know. You never know what happens, why things go the way they go. But yeah, it definitely. Not every audition essentially is going to go successfully, and it really sucks that one miss can just completely tank stuff now. And it's why you see more and more studios focusing on things like remakes and sequels, because they seem more safe. And even when those fail and lead to something like this, it's pretty goddamn rough.
It just makes me sad because, like, having met a lot of developers, and I got to meet a lot more developers out at DICE. I'm looking forward to meeting even more developers in a week or two at GDC. They're so passionate about the things that they make. And, and I'm talking about the people that actually get in the weeds and make stuff, make cool things. And it's just brutal out there, man. It's just brutal. I feel so sorry to see hardworking teams and passionate teams just get closed down just because this industry is in trouble. And people like to dance around the whys. They like to point at hardware figures. They like to point at the odd success, the outliers that successfully sell or have a massive success with their game. But there are hundreds, if not thousands, of games and made by thousands of studios that are struggling and end up closing. Now, I get it. That's a capitalist society. You make stuff that people want, people buy it, you're successful, great. But, that's the games aren't art side of the business, which I don't like as much, right? Anyway, keeping on the Sony train here, Neil Druckmann has been having conversations, and this comes via Insider Gaming. There might not be another Last of Us game, Druckmann suggests rather ambiguously. In a recent interview with Variety, Neil Druckmann suggested The Last of Us might be over and done with. He said, "Don't bet on there being more Last of Us." It's a rather ambiguous statement, as it's not immediately clear if he's saying there are no more Last of Us games coming now, or if The Last of Us Part 3 will be the final game in the series. In April, obviously, the second season of the award-winning HBO series was releasing, more than 2 years after the first season. Yeah. I don't know, man.
I've heard that the first... here comes the guy. They're doing the grass. Yeah, they're doing the grass outside.
I've chosen the wrong moment to pause and ask you for your opinion.
Thankfully, it is very cool outside, so they're not having to kill themselves in the heat. But yeah, I haven't even watched The Last of Us on HBO because as much as I really loved the first game and its story, the second game's story just kind of ruined some of those characters for me. And I'm hoping it is improved in the show, though. I think Druckmann's involved with it, so I have no idea if it will be, because they've got very talented people otherwise. But man, I don't know. I'm happy with them working on something different. I hope it goes well. They're a super talented studio that, thankfully, like The Last of Us 2 plays really well. Because if you go back to The Last of Us, it's old. It's a PS3 game that then got made prettier and run a little better on the PS4. Then got made a little prettier and ran a little better on PS5 and PC. They are technical, breathtaking achievements in many ways. But I really like Naughty Dog that made a bunch of different stuff. And that they fell into sequelitis because it's just the safest way to continue to exist and make money. I don't know that The Last of Us 2 was an enormous success, but I gotta imagine it was some form of success.
Yeah. I mean, Intergalactic's coming. It's a new IP from Naughty Dog. I don't think it's going to be here until 2026 at the earliest.
Yeah. They have been busy doing their own PC ports because they really, like, every time they were going to hand off stuff with The Last of Us, they ended up just yoinking it back in, which probably hasn't helped. Well, you never know. It's an assumption, but maybe it didn't help timeframes. No idea. Hopefully there's no awful Israel and Palestine or allegories in Intergalactic because they really don't hit well in The Last of Us anymore. But we'll, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. They're a very good studio. They've had a lot of turnover, but
yeah. Deniz in the chat, is it true that Sony bought Ballistic Moon in 2023? No, I don't believe so. They're not a Sony-owned studio. They were just contracted to work on the Until Dawn remake. Independently owned, to my knowledge.
Yeah, like, and the story was, like, the setup was a lot of times you work with them hoping to either keep working with them or get bought if you like your audition goes well. So that didn't happen. Like Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog wasn't Sony owned until they made a bunch of games for them that they really liked, and they said, hey, here's $1 bajillion to make more. And they made a lot of hits.
I just can't stand it when big platform holders buy their way into the industry. I'm joking. Calm me down. I'm joking. I'm just yanking your chain. That's how the world works. Next up, in the last bit, well, the last second to last, penultimate part
my
of
least
our Sony train.
My third least favorite, I should say. People getting fired is worse, but this one's also like, come on.
This one's predatory. I don't like this at all. And this isn't strictly Sony. It's
on their
UK.
Website. It's through, you can, so it's not the service for.
Oh, it is shit. It's on their PlayStation.
Leasing a PS5 includes accessories, PS5 Pro, and it'll say as low as £11 a month. That £11 is if you do a 36-month lease, at the end of which you do not own anything. You can choose to continue renting it at £21 a month or return it, or contact them to potentially buy it.
I mean, yeah, like I will say there are a few things, like I'm sure Microsoft did, but I think it was more like a credit program.
So they had monthly payments where you paid essentially the cost of a console and Game Pass, and then you owned it.
But not a lease. A lease. Hi, I'd like to lease my PlayStation.
You want to lease a PS5 Portal, which doesn't really do much unless you have a PlayStation 5. Like, you can play some cloud games on it now, but it is literally a PlayStation 5 remote player you can lease for $650 a month. But these are all prices for 36-month leases, in case you're wondering. It's more expensive otherwise.
Here's the thing with this stuff, this is predatory, designed to get people with poor credit ratings or with very little money in the bank so they don't feel like they're left out. Don't do it. Yeah, all right. If you're a UK listener, don't lease a console. All right, there are cheaper ways to play. I get it. You don't want to feel left out, and maybe you don't have the cash in the bank.
Well,
don't do this.
There's a rental service in Japan that is literally just you rent it like month to month, but the month to month on this is so fucking expensive. Like, if you just want, say, a base slim model, digital. So you have to like friggin' own digital copies for something you don't own. If you want to do it monthly rolling, it's £22 a month, $21.95 every month. I'm curious what that is compared to the one in Japan, because a lot of people have been renting them in Japan to play Monster Hunter.
That is crazy.
Like, crazy amount of Monster Hunter rentals in Japan was a story. Super popular thing. Don't own the console, but I just want to play this game for a few months. I get it. I don't know. So I would never do it digital. if you're like, I want to play GTA 6, and so I'm going to rent this for 1 month. I'm going to get a physical copy of the game, and then say rent. How much would a PS5 Pro for a single month would be?
$18.95 a month.
$35.59 a month.
Fuck off.
If you don't do a commitment, if you do a year commitment, it's $27 a month. 24-month lease is $21 a month, or a 36-month lease is $18.95. And those you're getting close to the full cost of the system with the 36-month ones, but then at the end, you don't own it.
Yeah,
it is just like a car lease, which makes sense for a company because they don't want a fleet of cars at the end, but they need something for their employees to drive. But with like a console that you have to buy the software for,
I don't like it.
Yeah, especially because this doesn't have a disk drive on it on the PS5 Pro, so you have to buy digital, or you buy your own friggin' spend another $100 to get a disk drive just so for your rental.
Disk drive as well for you.
Yeah, there are accessories.
Crazy. Navy Shadow in the chat says it doesn't have 2 years Game Pass included like Xbox All Access. That's true. And Xbox All Access was effectively a pre-purchase.
Yeah, Xbox All Access was
cost, but you own it at the end.
And you were paying the cost of everything combined. You weren't paying more. So like you were paying for the hardware and for those 2 years of Game Pass Ultimate, and that was a card that you could turn around and sell if you really wanted to. For the cost of what they would be in general. It wasn't a lot more as far as I know.
Ugh.
You can rent a PSVR 2 or the bundle with Horizon Call of the Mountain, which is a digital code, so I don't know how the hell you would hand that back. Unless it comes on a disc. It must come on a disc, the only way it would work. Or you can even rent a controller. Or lease, sorry. You can lease a controller for 3 years. For $750 a month. So what's that calculator? Because that's a $200 controller.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It's going to be grim.
36 times 7.5. That's 270 pounds. That is 70 pounds more than that controller costs. As far as I know. What does the DualSense Edge cost? DualSense Edge, Amazon.co.uk. Man, it only wants to give me American. Oh, here it is. I don't even freaking list it. Oh, I can get one for 168 pounds. Retail's 175, but it costs 270 if you want to rent it for 3 years.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's not good.
I don't like it, and I demand that it not be okay. But it's there. Don't use it, people. Don't even go look at it. Ugh. Last up in our PlayStation section of this programming, there is, however, a new beta program that starts.
I don't know if it's super new. I think it was a closed thing before because Khalif Adams had said he's been in it already for a while, but now it's open to the public is how I took that.
Much like the Insider program at Xbox, which we'll also be talking about in this show. But yes, you can now be a part of delivering the very best experiences of PlayStation through the beta program. So this is a choice to sign your console up with your account, and then you'll get updates to your box before everybody else to check that they don't break everything.
And there's like game stuff as well too. It's not all just system UI. So
yeah, so
it's neat. Beta programs are fun.
Worth checking it out.
But as I don't think, we'll do it next. When you do go into a beta program, especially one that is an alpha skip ahead, which is, hey, we've just done this
now. Yeah. Even if it's broken, give me the new thing now on my machine. That's what's happened. And look, I don't know why this is news. I'm not judging, but it's news apparently because the latest system update for alpha skip ahead users, i.e. the people that want the earliest update humanly possible before public release and before anybody else, has reset their console so that they've lost their username. They have to log into their console as if they owned it from new and they've just got it out of the box. And it's causing news stories to be written on the internet. And I'm like, but they chose to be in the alpha skip ahead branch. So why is this news? This is very known. Hey, these things could happen. Yeah. I've had worse happen.
Yeah,
Jesse,
it's
right?
literally,
keep me honest here.
Yeah, it's completely bricked Xboxes in the past. Like they just don't work anymore. Like it's It's the type of thing you should never put your main console into, aka like, hey, I've got a couple at the house, and so one of these will go in alpha skip ahead so I can mess around with stuff. Like half the time it's for journalists to see things early and try and get news stories out there to get clicks. Like, hey, this is how this works in here, like type of thing. You don't want to be in alpha skip. I'm in beta and I've never had a problem. And you still get stuff pretty early to test out and see.
Yeah.
But I would never do alpha or alpha skip ahead.
But yes, it's bricking some people's consoles, not in the way that they think is actually considered bricking. It's just wiping them of all user profile information. And the good thing about Xbox is at least that all of your user stuff is all cloud-based, so it can just be downloaded again, and that includes your saves. But it even happens to VGC themselves with their presumably staff console. They had to add their profile back in, follow the various display prompts to get back into their games, but everything that they had installed, all of their video games themselves, were all working just fine.
It used to be the default, it wiped everything, but now default is it doesn't wipe your installs when you reset a console, it seems.
Yeah. But that's the beauty of the alpha skip ahead ring. If you don't like this issue or the possibility of this issue, may I politely suggest don't be in the insider program.
Yeah.
Is that controversial? Have I said something controversial?
No.
Okay. I'm just checking. I don't know. I don't know. I just work here. Anyways, moving on to other news. Xbox Cloud Gaming seemingly has now imposed limits on free users, and it's already live. User on Twitter called @HypeX. Actually, no, this person posted it. It was actually posted by Chow Ackerman. You only get 60 minutes of free play time per session. So if you're playing Fortnite on the cloud and you're a free cloud gamer user, not anymore.
Yeah, you get 1 hour. I was shocked that there was no limit. Maybe it was part of the deal to get it on there with Epic, but I mean, the one thing we've constantly been told as I watch a ninja ride Shenron from Dragon Ball as a this is someone playing on xCloud. Here you go, Ultra 15 sub, bam, have a like. I was shocked that it was still free and unlimited. An hour seems a little rough in a game that is a battle royale, where if you don't realize the hour's about up and then you get kicked out right in the middle of a match, it probably hurt. But they probably like that because then it makes you want to sign up to not have those limits anymore.
Yeah,
that's their hope.
Absolutely right.
But yeah, I am surprised. Every cloud, like any cloud service, giving completely free, unlimited access to a game, especially one as popular as this, was never going to last.
No. Someone maybe it was just like an oversight, and someone's caught onto it this week.
And I had to. I wouldn't be shocked to get Fortnite on there that they had some sort of will let people just play type of thing, because otherwise Epic wouldn't be making money by default if people are playing through their accounts, because that's the thing with GeForce Now is like you can't just have the game on there because you're making a subscription. You're making money from a sub. We want some money from that sub. So they had to work it out with all the publishers, because it's still only like 2,000 games on GeForce Now. It's not everything on Steam, because that would be insane to try and have installed everywhere. But also you need to pay people when it's a subscription service accessing your game. But probably been long enough and they're like, hey, this shit's really expensive to run, and especially if these people aren't buying constant microtransactions through our store where we get a small cut. So I was surprised to see it in the sense that I couldn't believe it still existed like this.
Yeah. There you go. No more freebies for you people. Well, you get an hour. That's it.
And you can literally just start right back up afterwards, but it sucks in an online game because it means you got to restart your whole session and you can't go back into your match.
Oof. Imagine being on the last closing circle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Your time is up. Next up in news, FragPunk, the game of 5v5 tactical, change the rules, shooty McShooty bangs, is out today. And it was meant to be out today on consoles, Xbox and PlayStation 2, except it's not now. It's delayed on both PS5 and Xbox Series consoles due to an unexpected technical challenge. I'm going to read this as we failed our certification at the last minute.
Mhm.
Whoops. And now the console launch is just delayed. There's not even a new date on it, which is kind of crazy to me. I imagine that they're just trying to fix it really quick and get it through certs as quick as humanly possible.
Mhm.
But yes, writing on Twitter in a rather lengthy statement, the development team behind FragPunk said, "We want to be fully transparent with you. During the console compliance testing process, we encountered unexpected technical challenges in optimization and adaptation. Rather than rushing the console release and providing a potentially poor user experience, we have made the difficult decision to delay the launch of the console versions to ensure that players receive a comparable experience to those on PC." This does mean that those pre-order bonuses, if you pre-ordered FragPunk on console, you will be refunded. But the developers have assured that all rewards will be gained via engagement beginning from the start of Season 1 until the console version goes live, which includes in-game currency, cosmetics, experience points, and more will be compensated to console gamers, including in-game currency worth $10 to those players when the console versions officially launch.
That's actually not bad.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
I was going to be covering this for Xbox Era. I was looking to dive into it today because I've been seeing out March 6th, out of March 6th. And I went and checked, out March 7th at midnight. So March 6th tonight, 23:59. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm not really going to get a chance to dive into it tomorrow, but it will be on PC. I think the reality is this, and I'm just being honest with folks in the chat and our community. I would prefer to review the Xbox version to give you the Xbox verdict, but that might be in 2 weeks. I might be at GDC, and if we miss that boat, then we've missed it, and there's probably very little to no point in me actually doing the work. So I'm going to try and dive into it feet first tomorrow at some point.
As this type of shooter, get good and use mouse and keyboard or you're going to get destroyed.
Never! Console kid forever!
Yeah.
To be fair, I am playing with a bunch of folks on PC that would definitely be using
So they'll have to carry you because this game is all Twitch and a controller
you say
players.
That, I played on controller against mouse and keyboard players at Gamescom last year. And I got the old man muscle memories, all right? I've got the abilities to pay the utilities. We'll see. You can all mock my footage whenever I get that done. So that's the current plan anyway. So we'll see what happens. If the Xbox version's a bit sooner, then maybe we can have a conversation about it. But yeah, look, I just don't enjoy playing mouse and keyboard. It's not comfy. I don't care about the skill gap. Yeah, bad times, FragPunk. But good luck with the PC launch today. I think the beta pulled in 22,000 odd players, which isn't bad for a beta. But
speaking of betas,
yeah, it isn't bad for a beta. So good luck to him. But speaking of betas, MechaBreak, another free-to-play shooty McShootbangs, but with mechs, is out now on Xbox Series consoles. I thought that this was a typo at first because it's Amazing Seasun Games, not Season. Seasun. Their open beta is out. It was delayed from its original 23rd of February availability.
Yep.
It is live on PC. But to compensate this, the developer is giving everybody 2,000 Corite, which is the in-game currency for MechaBreak, which will allow them to instantly unlock 4 to 5 additional mechs to play with. The beta has no end date at this point, so you can just jump in. I'm sure they might turn it off eventually, but you can learn more about it by visiting xboxzero.com and reading our article. It's slated for PC and Xbox Series consoles and eventually PlayStation 5 systems at some point this year, launching as a free-to-play title across all platforms.
Very uwu. You can do your character creator, and I've seen people make anime ladies with unbelievably large busts and butts. So it's one of those.
Why not?
But people have liked it. They say it's pretty neat. So we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, it's like a Year of the Ninja, Year of the Mechs. There's another game I saw Clobbril chatting about on Twitter that teased my MechWarrior loving self. called War Robots Frontiers. Again, another free-to-play shooty game, but this is more grounded, westernized mechs, tactical mech action. So it's a free-to-play multiplayer mech game that is also available and live on Xbox right now. I don't know how well it's doing. It is on my list to maybe go poke my nose in and have a little look around. But as always with these giant free-to-play Play Me Forever games, I don't have the time to play you forever. So I might peek my nose in, have a little look and dip out again. But there's lots of stuff out lately.
Really thought you said pick your nose. You said peek.
I did. Peek my interest. Peek my nose in like this. Ooh, it's in. Oh, it's out again.
Man, I forgot how bad
I don't know where we're going with this. We've gone too far.
I haven't gone anywhere. It's all you.
Right. Last few news stories now. Next up, Assassin's Creed Shadows, which I believe this gentleman accompanying me is currently reviewing.
Mm-hmm. And here's my preview footage, which I forgot how bad it looked. Not on me. This was their local recordings at a very low bit rate and wrong color. Like they had the wrong color gamut. So it looks like shit.
Dear.
But my footage will look good, even though it's 10 hours of GeForce Now footage right now. I've got to get, I should get the Xbox code in soon, and then I will get a lot of Xbox footage. But hey, the game leaked, so you can go watch people play it on Xbox and PlayStation, Series X, Series S. It's all over YouTube.
Oh dear. But yes, it's boasting a 30 to 40 hour main campaign. To some Assassin's Creed fans, that sounds like heaven.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it sounds too long, but what do I know?
When I first saw the whole objective screen in the preview, I thought, man, it might be even longer than that. But it makes me think that what I have seen in the preview time was the main objective. So there's not a bunch more. All the other stuff is side stuff, which he said you're looking at roughly 80 hours for like a full completion.
Wow.
Yeah, but that was like 300 hours in Valhalla, so it's a lot less. So this is an Odyssey-sized game. Like this is around Origins to Odyssey, which I always felt was like the perfect sweet spot where, yeah. No, so for me, if I just you want to mainline it and you put it on easy and all that type of stuff, I bet you 25 hours easy. Because they're always generous in their estimations because they know people are going to do side stuff. So if you just Golden Path it, which is a bad way to play these games because side content can be really good. Yeah, not super long. There were a few exceptions in the tower and then the length issues with Ubisoft, but people have always been over the top with it. It's never been that bad. Valhalla was the only one that was actually that long for all their games.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it either way. Like, it does look good. For me, I get the impression, knowing how this year's going,
you'll have no time.
This is probably going to be my December game.
Mm-hmm.
I might play like a few hours. Like if I get code, if Ubisoft are generous, but then it will be like back burner. That's one to come back and visit in December and try then. So we'll see.
That's why it's always funny with Nick always asking me to get him codes for everything. I'm like, you're not going to play anything. And then he'll point out something that he played 2 years after I got it for him. I'm like, yeah, but you desperately wanted the code right at launch for no reason.
He just likes to.
He's a hoarder.
Stuff. He's a strange fellow.
Mm-hmm.
SEGA were in the news this week as they promised fewer new games, but deeper investments in Sonic, Atlas, and Like a Dragon. This comes via Andy Robinson over at Video Games Chronicle, where he writes, Sega is planning to release fewer new games in the next year, but invest in its Persona, Sonic, and Like a Dragon studios. During its current business year, which ends on March 31st, the Japanese publisher has released more than 7 full titles, including some Super Monkey Ball, Banana Rumble, Metaphor ReFantasio, Sonic X Shadows Generations, and Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Fun fact and side note, Metacritic published their publisher rankings of the year yesterday. Sega won, number 1, top-rated publisher. I think Microsoft came in at 9. Sony might have been at like 6 or 4. I can't recall.
Yeah, the way it works, they have like this whole point system. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't think it really means much, but it's neat.
Sega won it.
Yeah. And Nintendo was way down, but like, who cares? They made a lot of money. Yeah. And it's funny because people will be like, oh, PlayStation, they have those bangers. And it's like, PlayStation has more 90s and they have more 60s. Like they have more outliers, and their average always ends up being right around the same as Microsoft. They're both around 80 most of the time as an average.
How dare you besmirch the good name of Sony in this way? Anyway, back to Sega. Asked about plans for its next fiscal year, which runs from April 2025 until March 2026. Sega said that it would release fewer games overall. Currently, the company's announced full games, so those that aren't free to play, include Sonic Racing Crossworlds, Shinobi, Art of Vengeance, and Project Century, plus its legacy IP revivals for Virtua Fighter, Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, Golden Axe, and Streets of Rage. The plan is currently being formulated, but we expect the volume of new titles in full games to be lower than this fiscal year, Sega said of its plans. On the other hand, we expect continuous revenue contribution from repeat sales of new titles in full game this fiscal year and full-scale revenue contribution from new titles in free-to-play. Woo! There you go.
Yeah, like in those rankings, there's like little tiny devs that only put out a handful of things that are like fifth or so. It's a weird ranking system. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, kind of like it's an aggregate of the aggregates, which is like, okay, is it useful? I don't know, but it's out there. You can go watch it. We covered
People
it on
like
xboxzero.com.
Comparative lists.
Yes, they do.
It kind of drives the entire industry. So
yeah. I mean, like JB 1521, MS at 9. I mean, they won in 2022. Who'd thunk? No games, bad console, publisher of the year. But again,
yeah, when you go through the list,
it doesn't really mean much. Don't worry, it's okay. Last but not least, we're down to the last three now. President
Sony was fourth, by the way. You got to say that correct.
Okay, I did say it was like sixth or not.
Yeah, they were fourth.
There we go, fourth. President Trump's tariffs threaten the future of physical video games, warns an analyst. King Trump newly imposed these tariffs, and they could make publishers decide to stop releasing physical games due to the increased cost of manufacturing. After weeks of threats, Trump has now imposed 25% tariffs on goods that have been imported from Mexico and Canada. In addition, Trump announced a further 10% tariffs on goods from China on top of the previously announced 10%. Side note, in tangent, a good long-standing member of this community reached out to me and be like, hey, is your card game affected by the tariff increase? And my answer is, I don't know. I sure hope not. Because they were already on the boat. They were already on the boat before they came, right before the tariffs came into force. So I'm hoping the paperwork won't catch up with them. I honestly don't know the answer. I hope not.
Well, I think so. For China, it is semiconductors and stuff like that.
Yeah, it probably won't affect card games.
Yeah,
I'm not going to stress about it.
It's very specific things for China because they already had that 10% tariff on them. Now they've made it 20%. So it's already an existing one. As far as I know, it's not a new one.
Yeah. It's Finn. I'm only joshing. I say it with a full wink in my eye, if you know what I mean. Like I'm playing around. I'm trying to make light of the situation. I know that this is rough for a lot of people, particularly Canadians, who, for some reason, Jesse, I can't figure it out. They don't want to join the United States. I don't know why. Why don't they want to? It's so good over there. You guys have got free healthcare, right?
I haven't been to a doctor in 20 years.
Okay, it's enough. We won't get political. We know how people can't handle that.
Everything's political. People just don't want you to disagree with their politics.
That's the one. Let's just.
It's you know what? I've got a nice allegory. I think people don't want you to give your opinion on a game when they look at reviews. They want you to reinforce theirs, and that's where phrases like finally an honest opinion come from. And it's not that it's honest, it's that it's what you want to be the case.
Yes.
So you suck.
Correct. Me? I suck.
No, the people who go to war over review scores and think everyone's just bought and paid for. That might be true for some industries when it comes to coverage, but I promise you, for video game review access, there is no buying because no one has any money to even do it if they wanted to.
You want another side tangent because this is our show and we can do what we like. As part of the card game, we're obviously going through an extensive review program, and I'm not going to name any creators or websites in particular, but I've started to reach out, offering a review copy. Hey, we're going to give you this. I need an address.
Yeah,
you know, would you be
it would be called the review sample unit in industry parlance.
Yes. I have been shocked to learn, right? Genuinely shocked to learn and get responses back that say, thanks for reaching out. Here's a PDF with my list of services offering me the opportunity and the privilege to pay, and I'm not joking, I'm going to give you a ballpark, upwards of 3,000 USD to get an honest review from these creators. And I'm like, now I know that in the gaming industry, there are people that genuinely think that reviewers are on the take if we give a positive review. But I can say, hand on heart, 100% factually, outside of the fact that we've been given the game to provide our verdict, there is never, ever money that has changed hands to ask for or to imply a positive result. We are free to say it sucks or otherwise, i.e., just to judge it on its own. But the fact that this side of the industry, bear in mind this is board games, not video games, are asking me to pay, I'm like, no, like I'm just not going to do that.
Well,
I was mind blown.
The press,
I get that we provide a service to a degree, but nah, mate.
The press side of the industry always gets dragged into the content creator side of the industry, and the content creator side of the industry does not have the same moral fiber. Now, press has had it eroded a ton over the years. It's really hard to make any money being good at being a journalist. And our side of being media we're classically trained journalists. It's just we're idiots who try to be on the up and up. Like, that is our goal. We get these things. We don't put honest in our review because they should all be that by default without ever needing to have that ever restated in any way. But to know that there are just so many streamers and content creators and people who don't have any morals. They will just say, pay me to cover your thing nicely. Yeah. Don't pay me. Maybe I'll cover it mean. It's like, yeah, no, it sucks.
Yeah, that's the implication, I feel. It's like, if I don't pay and send it to you, are you going to be horrible? Like, I don't know. So yeah, I'm learning. I'm learning a lot. I can see some comments in the chat. I can't comment. I'm not going to comment on which comment I'm reading that I want to comment on. I would just say, sit tight. Hold on. Not long now. Anyways, final
news story is a funny one.
Yeah, well, no, we didn't actually finish talking about this one. Nutshell, the tariffs are there. Matt Piscatella posted on Blue Sky, suggesting that increased cost to import physical goods from Mexico, which is where the vast majority of discs for North American physical games are produced, could see publishers move further away from physical games. In response to Nico Partners analyst Daniel Ahmad, aka Zuge, I can't remember how to pronounce it. Zuga, noting that the 20% China tariff impacts on consoles and the 25% Mexico tariff will affect physical game manufacture, Piscatella noted, very small piece of all this, but it wouldn't surprise me to see physical games that would be subject to tariffs simply not get made, with publishers moving to an all-digital strategy. What a mess. So, there we are. There we are. All right. Next up in news.
Last story. A silly one to end on.
Speaking of analysts, everyone's favorite analyst from Wedbush. Wedbush. It is Wedbush. I always read it as Redbush. I don't know. Wedbush Securities, Michael Pachter. Take-Two could be planning to sell Grand Theft Auto 6 at an unprecedented price point of $100 or more per copy. Now, we've heard this story before from a different analyst, but Michael Pachter has come in
and confirmed the they will not be offering this game at a base price of $100. Thank you, Mr. Pachter.
Yeah. He says, We think the company has plans to sell the game at a previously unheard of price point and suspect that management can offer consumers an incentive to pay $100 or more per unit by rewarding them with a large amount of in-game currency to be spent in GTA Online.
Has he
wrote.
not seen every 2K release? WWE 2K sent me the Bloodline edition for review. It's $120. It offers a significant amount of in-game currency along with some other stuff. They also still sell the base game at $70. They do this every time.
It's almost like
Every time.
Just
GTA 5 has that.
moves.
GTA 5 with the shark card bundles. You have the $60 game, and then you've got your shark card bundles that cost more. But those go on sale, and so people buy them because you just get the currency, even though you own the game 17 times now. Like, it's just... Game industry will want to have $80 games. They will.
Yeah.
But... not for the ones that also have a bajillion dollars in microtransactions. Now, GTA is probably the exception where it's still going to sell a ton of copies. And so if you can get $10 more or $20 more a copy, cool. But they also know you either get bigger things into a smaller bucket or smaller things into a bigger bucket. And pulling people into Grand Theft Auto and getting them into the online, still worth it at the $70 to hope they then come in and spend more. Like, that is just, Michael Pachter's always wrong. Every time we talk about him, the thing he says was categorically wrong in every way. And it just makes me
I think there
always
is an
question.
ongoing joke. If he says something, then the opposite will happen, isn't it? Something like that. That's the ongoing
Well, yeah, because
joke.
he was also talking about how, like, Xbox was going to absolutely dominate this generation. It's like, they've done fine, but they didn't. They tried to stop selling stuff because they definitely didn't. Like, that they're just not trying to sell a ton of consoles and lose money on them anymore. Like, they just always get it wrong. He's really inaccurate.
I mean, to be fair to Michael Pachter, Xbox could have come out the gate swinging, but just plans just didn't land, it seems.
And they're
What do
just,
I know?
they hit the point where they're like, we're not going to keep losing money on our hardware. We want our margins to be better. The thing that Sony's doing, but Sony still has that console first, then PC mentality. Until that ships, it won't be the same. But GTA 6, it's going to sell a bajillion copies, and whatever their online thing ends up being, especially with the RP servers that they bought with, God, I forget the hell the name of it, but they bought an entire friggin' GTA role-playing company, 5M. So, like, they have tons of plans for monetizing it. I could not imagine if there's any game that would still sell at $100, it's GTA 6. I just don't think, and definitely hope they don't do it, because then every other idiot's going to think they can up their prices and then be shocked when nothing sells because you're not GTA. Like, even Call of Duty couldn't sell at that. It's yearly. Like, GTA being decadely is the reason why it could. But
Yeah. Yep. Too true, mate. Too true. But yeah, $100 editions have existed like for years.
yeah, there's a $310 edition of Path of Exile. That's the one they friggin' sent to me. The $320 edition or something.
They bought that review from you.
I haven't done a review yet because I just didn't. Game didn't click for me. I didn't want to keep playing it, and it was already really late. So, but I'll wait for version 1.0. But yeah, I don't know. They're going to have a ton of versions and make a ton of money off of it. I just can't see the base cost being $100, especially now that Michael Pachter has said it.
Indeed. Well, that's it. That is the show. That's all the news for this episode of Xbox Era Headlines. But, my friends, don't go anywhere, because shortly after this, we're going to switch gears. We're going to kick off on the Xbox Era YouTube channel right here, a dive into, for Jesse's first time playing it, of EA and Hazelight's Split Fiction.
You know, I can probably just send
game.
everyone over there when this ends.
That's perfect for Hangouts, which is one of our wonderful shows. If you want to support the work that the team at Xbox Era does, consider subscribing to us here on YouTube. But even better, heading over to patreon.com/Xbox Era, where you can pledge your support for either a very small amount of money and help us keep the lights on, or a slightly larger amount of money, and you can get free t-shirts and cool stuff. Either way, help us bring you the best in video game coverage that we can.
When this stream ends,
wider platforms,
it will bring you right over to Hangouts, and I do apologize. It means that I'll be late on timestamps and the Patreon version.
yeah, well, we might just sit in the Go live screen for a minute because I'm going to go grab a drink. You know,
Yeah, I got to make sure it actually works. I don't know if I have to download
get
a
into
different
the lobby,
version.
but
Yeah.
we'll be here. So if you want to hang out with us while we play some Split Fiction and have a good old time, because guess what? I gave it a 10 out of 10 in my review because it's fucking brilliant. Stick around. If not, we'll see you on Saturday for the Xbox Zero podcast. We'll be joined, as always, by Special Nick. What's going on? But Patreon members can get a glimpse of us a little bit earlier on Friday when we do Sick and Nick's Flicks and talk through a couple of movies. One, Crimson Tide, to honor the late, great Gene Hackman. May he rest in peace. And
Might have been
Anora,
murdered.
which is the Best Picture winner at the Oscars.
Lots of boobies in that one. So be an adult.
Well, do you know what? That is literally, and I'm sorry to be so crass, that is literally what Nick sent me. He said, loads of sex. I was like, okay, bro. Anyway, we'll see you soon. In Hangouts, hopefully in a minute. Ciao for now.
So close, no matter how far. Couldn't be much more from the heart.